rewriting the timeline. The official timeline of human history is built like a ladder: Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, agriculture, cities, writing, science. But this discovery does not fit on that ladder. It sits below the first rung, yet displays sophistication belonging near the top. Carbon dating places it thousands of years earlier than accepted civilization. Some estimates push it beyond the end of the last ice age, a time when humanity was supposedly struggling just to survive. And yet here it is, planned, engineered, purposeful, which forces historians into an impossible position. Either the dating is wrong, or the timeline is wrong. And the dating keeps coming back correct. Because once its age was confirmed, once its complexity could no longer be dismissed, the problem was no longer the object itself. The problem was time. The timeline we rely on, the one taught, printed, and defended, began to bend under its own weight. For over a century, modern history has rested on a simple structure, a sequence, a progression. Humans began as primitive hunter-gatherers. Slowly, over tens of thousands of years, they learned agriculture, then villages, then cities, then writing, then science. This progression is not just a theory. It is a foundation of archaeology, anthropology, and education. And now, standing the ground beneath our feet was something that shattered that foundation, because this discovery did not sit at the beginning of the timeline. It sat beneath it. Its age placed it before agriculture, before permanent settlements, before organized religion, before writing. Yet it displayed all the hallmarks of an organized, knowledgeable society, which meant one of two things had to be true. Either everything we know about early humans is wrong, or the timeline itself is incomplete. At first, scholars attempted the safer option. They questioned the dating. Carbon dating must be flawed, they said. Contamination, geological interference, measurement error. But the dates were repeated, verified by different laboratories, tested using different methods. Each time, the answer came back the same: too old, uncomfortably old. So the focus shifted. Maybe the structure was not as advanced as it appeared. Maybe it was symbolic. Maybe it was religious instinct, not intelligence. But symbols do not explain geometry. Ritual does not explain astronomical precision. Instinct does not explain planning that spans generations. This was not a spontaneous act. This was design. And design implies knowledge, which brings us to the moment history quietly broke. Because the moment you accept that knowledge existed earlier than expected, the entire ladder of progress collapses. If humans could plan, organize, observe the sky, and build monumental structures before agriculture, then agriculture was not the trigger for civilization. If they could encode information without writing, then writing was not the beginning of knowledge. If they could track celestial cycles without instruments, then science did not begin where we thought it did. The timeline does not stretch. It snaps, and once broken, it cannot be repaired with minor adjustments. It must be rewritten. This realization is deeply unsettling, not just academically, but psychologically, because the timeline is not just about the past. It tells us who we are. It reassures us that we are smarter than those who came before us. It comforts us with the idea of linear progress, that humanity moves forward, never backward. But this discovery introduces a terrifying alternative. What if humanity has risen before and fallen? What if progress is not guaranteed? What if knowledge is fragile? As researchers began re-examining other ancient sites through this new lens, something remarkable happened. Patterns emerged. Structures once dismissed as crude suddenly revealed complexity. Alignments once called coincidental suddenly made sense. Sites that shouldn't be connected suddenly spoke the same language. The timeline began to blur. Take the Ice Age. For decades, it was treated as a dark age of human potential, a time when survival dominated every thought, when creativity and complexity were luxuries humans could not afford. But the discovery suggested something else entirely, that beneath the ice, beneath the floodwaters, beneath the sands of time, civilization may have already existed. And if that is true, then the Ice Age was not a beginning. It was an interruption. Modern geology confirms that the end of the last Ice Age was sudden and violent. Temperatures rose rapidly. Ice sheets melted. Sea levels surged. Entire regions disappeared. Coastlines that once stretched hundreds of miles farther than today are now submerged. If early civilizations existed along those ancient shores, they would be gone, erased, their cities drowned, their records dissolved, their technologies lost, all except what was made of stone. And stone is exactly what remains. This forces a radical reconsideration of time. History, as we know it, may not begin at the dawn of civilization. It may begin after a collapse, a reset, a rebuilding phase, which means the timeline we teach may only cover humanity's recovery, not its origin. This also explains something else historians have long struggled with: the sudden appearance of advanced civilizations. Egypt seems to rise fully formed. Sumer appears with writing, law, and astronomy already developed. The Indus Valley shows urban planning from its earliest stages. There is no long learning curve, no obvious experimentation. It is as if these civilizations inherited knowledge rather than invented it. The rewritten timeline suggests they did. That knowledge survived in fragments, passed orally, preserved by small groups, rediscovered rather than created. And this ancient discovery may represent one of those fragments, left behind deliberately, knowing that most of the world will forget. The resistance to rewriting the timeline is fierce, not because the evidence is weak, but because the consequences are enormous. If the timeline is wrong, then much of what we believe about human capability is wrong. It means intelligence does not move in one direction. It means collapse is possible. It means we are not immune. And perhaps most unsettling of all, it means we are not as original as we think. This discovery forces us to consider that innovation may be rediscovery, that our greatest achievements may echo something older, that the ancients were not ignorant. They were experienced. They may have seen the end once before, which brings a chilling question into focus. If humanity already walked this path, what ended it? Because rewriting the timeline does not just change the past. It casts a shadow over the future. The discovery remains. Its stones unmoved. Its age undeniable. And with it, a quiet demand. Rethink everything. Not just when civilization began, but how easily it can disappear.